Just because you get sober, life doesn't just get easy. Preston King joins us from Underdogg Marketing to tell his recovery story. He talks about getting lost in the jail system and gratitude for being held accountable by the drug court system. He says he wanted to put in half effort and get full results and is grateful for many successes like an apartment, furniture, job, and the lessons he has learned in sobriety. Enjoy. Welcome to the Illuminate Recovery Podcast. We shed light on mental health issues, mental illness, and addiction recovery, ways to cope, manage, and inspire. Beyond the self-care we will discuss, you may need the help of a licensed professional. My name's Kurt Nider. I'm a husband, a father, entrepreneur, a handyman, and a student of life. I avoid conflict, I deflect with humor, and I'm fascinated by the human experience.
And I'm Shelley Mangum. I am a clinical mental health counselor, and my favorite role of all times is grandma. I am a seeker of truth, and I feel like life should be approached with tremendous curiosity.
I ask the dumb questions.
I fill in the gaps.
The Illuminate Recovery Podcast is brought to you by Illuminate Billing Advocates. Make billing and collection simple with leader in substance abuse and mental health billing services. Verification and analysis of benefits, pre-authorizations, utilization management, accurate claim submission and management, denial and appeal management, and industry-leading reporting. Improve your practice's cash flow and your ability to help your clients with Illuminate Billing Advocates.
Today, Kurt and I get to talk with Preston King. Preston is the owner of Underdogg Marketing. He went from addiction to business owner, and he has a powerful story to share. I'll also mention that Kurt and I got to meet Preston at the Alema Harrington fundraising golf event, which was that was a fun event. That was really fun to be out there and
that was a lot of fun. Yeah,
be with everybody. So Preston, thanks for being willing to come on here and I know that you do marketing, but you also have a pretty good story. Give us a little background of how you ended up where you're at now.
Man, what a loaded question. I don't know how I ended up where I'm. I just went with the flow with things, you know? Yeah, so how much time do we got? Because I can talk you guys' ears off. I got to limit myself here. Let's see. So yeah, I used for a long time. We'll kind of breeze through the beginning stages because there's just so much there, right? So I have a lot of trauma from my past. I really justified using drugs for a long time because I thought I was using heroin like a gentleman and I was still working, so it's okay, you know? I was actually in the Army for almost 6 years. And I was hooked on painkillers back in high school. I did them recreationally, which I thought was okay to do. It's just kind of like, yeah, do them on the weekends or if someone has them. And it's just, it's crazy because you always hear how progressive addiction is. And for sure, when I look back at that like 15-year span, I'm like, holy shit, like that is it exactly. And so that really took off when I got in the military. It was very easy to get painkillers, especially when you get hurt. So that really took off with that. And then when I switched from active duty over to the National Guard and was stationed here in Utah, I joined the Utah Guard for the last 3 years of my service, if you will. And I was still living in Elko, Nevada, which I don't know if you guys know that place, but it's solely all about mining. It's a mining town, hick town. So there's not a lot there. So the big step up for me was one day wanting, painkillers and not having them, and someone offering, heroin instead, which I didn't even know the slang terms for them. It's like, we've got this. And I'm like, I don't know what that is, And so as soon as they said heroin, I'm like, whoa, like I'm not a drug addict here. I just do painkillers, man. So, which was really sad that I viewed it that way. And I mean, it was probably a couple hour span from when they told me about that to when I was like, is it that good though? Like, you know, it's like, oh yeah, come over and try it. And honestly, I can still to this day, you know, 13, 14 years later, of recalling that feeling of things clicking in my head, or so I thought they were clicking in my head. I wasn't happy in life, and so when I went over there and partook in that, man, what a wave of like comfort. And this is the solution. This is the solution for my problems, whatever they are. This is great. And I have been chasing that high the entire time of my use because I thought it would be like that every time, and it surely wasn't. So fast forward with that, you know, now I've got this heroin addiction that I was still using like I was painkillers recreationally when I could. It was expensive. It's fine. But then it was every other day. And, you know, then I was timing it up for when I had to come over here to Utah for my weekend drills. And it's just like, well, if I do, the last time I do it is a week before, it'll be out of my system. Then it turned into, well, I can do it on Monday and just drink a lot. And it got closer and closer. Then I'm doing it on the way here for drills saying, I'm just going to give them fake piss and like, we're okay. And like, it's crazy how much you justify things because I enjoyed being in the Army. It gave me purpose. It gave me goals. You know, I do well with structure, and I threw that away, which was really hard. I was close with my unit here. They tried to help me, but I just couldn't be honest about it. And so when they finally like brought that up, that I had a bunch of failed UAs for, you know, coming up as morphine, and they tried to go to bat for me, but it just wasn't a go. And so I remember sitting down with the battalion commander, my company commander, my first sergeant. So I got to experience that. And the best part of that was I called who I was with right when we like took a break, and I said, "You need to come down to Camp Williams, and I need some heroin." So I mean, I'm going from, man, my life's gone, to okay, like, I'm all right, you know, and so that's how progressive this thing got. And since that happened, it turned into daily use. I couldn't keep a job. Pushing family away, you know, just the typical thing that you hear with people of just really isolating. I tried to get sober several times. I went to several different rehabs. I was really, really good at the 30, 60, 90. Just let me get my shit together for a little bit and then try it again. But it just it just wouldn't click for me. And so this last go round, before I got sober, almost 4 years ago, I've been 4 years sober, which is just crazy to me. You know, I really hit the ground running with it because I didn't really care. I didn't have any motivation. I didn't know what I wanted to do in life. I had all this experience in a lot of different areas. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that now that everybody's out of my life, this is great because now no one can tell me what to do. And I'm going to isolate in my room and I'm going to do my drugs and it's fine. So got to do that. And, you know, I was with my ex-fiance now. She's still a really good friend. So it's so weird saying that. But, you know, we have 2 kids together. And, man, put her through the ringer with that. And the big wake-up call was, you know, she got pregnant. I was still using. I was stealing from her. She didn't know, and that all surfaced. And she tried to help the best that she could. And I was really good at pushing people away. So, you know, I pushed her out of the state. She moved away. We were getting kicked out, and I didn't know what to do. So, but I was so okay with that. I was okay with losing my best friend who's pregnant with my kid. I'm okay that my family literally had cut me off entirely. I saw this as an opportunity to just go have some fun by myself for a couple weeks, homeless or something. I don't know. I don't know what I was telling myself, but I remember that I was okay. Like I was sad. I'm like, oh no, like please don't go. And I didn't want her to go, but that feeling of wanting the drugs more was a little bit more overpowering. And so she did. She left, and I stayed the couple days that I had left in the place we were renting before they kicked me out, left all my stuff, and I just was hopping around for 2 weeks. And the craziest part is just the desperation in those 2 weeks of being homeless and not caring about hurting other people. I was okay with giving up my morals, right? I did a lot of things that I would never do now. And it was a really dark place, man. Whoever listens to it probably is like, yeah, like I know what he's talking about. That was by far the darkest it's ever gotten. And I wanted to kill myself, but I didn't want to kill myself. I didn't know what I was doing. But by the grace of whatever's out there, God, universe, like aliens, whatever, I was fortunate enough that the law picked up on me and caught up with me, and they broke into the hotel I was staying at that was paid from a credit card that I stole, and it was fine, right? And a bunch of them came in. They came in, they took me away, and I was like, this sucks because now I got to detox in jail, right? And I was really used to the whole, we're going to book you, you're going to be there for like 9 hours, and then we're overpopulated and we're going to kick you out. I was not fortunate with this time, which if they would have done that, I don't think I would have been sober. I probably wouldn't be here. But the crazy thing is for those who know about Salt Lake County Jail, right, you get put into quarantine and you're only supposed to be there a couple days till they figure out where they're going to put you, what pod. I was there for 11 days. The schedule's different. You're on lockdown more. There's people always changing. So you can't even like make a friend that's going to stay 11 days. I fell through the cracks and they didn't realize it, and I didn't know to ask. And once they finally realized that, then, you know, like they're like, well, we'll get you in a pod tomorrow. And that night I remember sitting in my bunk. I guess it wasn't at the end of 11 days, but day 3, I remember just laying in my bunk. And so I'm 6'2". I'm not a huge guy, right? But going from the Army weighing 210, 220, like that's what I should be at. So when they weighed me in there, I was almost 130 pounds. I have some pictures that I don't recognize me in. I was sucked up. And I just remember laying in the middle of the night on this uncomfortable bunk, and I just looked down and like just my hip bone just was like sticking out. And I remember I could just grab the whole thing, and I just started crying, and I went and looked in the mirror, and I was like, I don't know who I am. You know, then all these things are rushing. Your fiance is in 2 states away, pregnant, scared, by herself. You always talk about how bad, you know, those people out there that are bad parents or anything. It's like, you're that guy right now, man. And man, I bawled so much that night. It was such a spiritual moment because I couldn't get past day 3 for over a year. And I don't know what switched, but something did, and it made the rest of the stay a lot easier. And I'm so grateful that I got to go to jail for that. And so that stay was about 3 or 4 months I got to stay in jail. But what made it really hard was that every week they'd say, hey, you're actually going to get released, you know, this week at this time. Because I'd go to court from jail. Judge would say, plea in abeyance, let's do this. You're getting released tomorrow, right? Cool. Then tomorrow would come, and the day that time would go past, and then I was still in there, and I'd ask what's going on, and they're like, well, more charges were filed, buddy. This is what I meant by it was finally catching up to me. Like, I don't know how often you guys hear it, but it's like, thank God life isn't fair, because if it was, I would have been locked up long ago. I would have been dead long ago, or just how much it is, right? But I think it has this mercy limit too of you're gonna get what's fair, and like what can like change you, right? And so this went on for 3 months. Every single week I got told I was being released and then not. So it was a really bad mind mess up, right? And so finally, when we're getting up to, I think it was 17 or 18 charges, my public defender came in and she's just like, this really isn't good. Like, now we're really racking stuff up. And because right now, I think it was 2 1 to 5s or one, something like that, but it'd be consecutive. And it didn't really hit me in there either, that I'm like, I'm just a drug addict and I'm going to be going to prison. You know what I mean? That was big. And so I was like, well, what can we do? I didn't want to go to prison for that. So they're like, well, we're trying to present to this judge in Salt Lake that we want to globalize everything and put you in drug court. I don't know why nobody's put you in drug court before with your history for the past 5 years, And I just thought that was treatment. And I was like, I can do treatment. That's easy. So felony drug court here, for whoever's listening, is no joke. It's hard if you don't want to get sober. It's easy if you want to get sober. It took me 18 months to finish it. I think it was a little bit more than 18 months. But it was hard. And I learned that the hard way with I was fortunate enough to have Judge Skanky in Salt Lake. He was very strict with things. I tried to bend on certain stuff and he wouldn't allow me, and that's the shit I need. And so when they globalized everything, I said, yeah, I'll do whatever you guys want. They're like, okay, we'll let you go, but you need a place to stay. And I'm so glad that I knew people. Christian Smith, one of my best buddies. I freaking love that man. The fact that he will pick up when I call him in from jail. Yeah, he helped me get a bed at Renaissance, sober living. I didn't have insurance. I don't have money either, mind you, which is why what you guys are doing is so huge, because I just got lucky that I knew somebody, right? And so they said they'd let me in. I could be released there. He made that all happen. And so it all just lined up great. And I got out and I was able to really put in the hard work to get my fiance back. I wanted to be sober before my kid was born, which I have. My kids haven't seen me ever be on drugs. I've got 2 beautiful kids, Daisy and Waylon. They've been my motivation. And these last 3 years have just been crazy. It's the best way to describe it. But I do wish someone would have told me that just because you get sober, life doesn't get easy. I really thought that was my only problem. And I don't know how many times people told me, drugs weren't your problem, that was your solution. I'm like, I don't even know what that means, dude. They were my problem, right? But no, they were the solution to not feel shit. And that took me a while to realize that. Because I really thought once I stopped doing drugs, then I can enjoy life, which is true. I get to enjoy the little stuff. I get to feel things. One thing that was hard for me to accept is I am a super sensitive guy, which before I was like, don't call me sensitive, but now I'll be the first to tell you, I am so sensitive. I can cry at anything, I'm full of emotions, and that's okay. And so, I really thought life would be easy, and it is to a point, but it's just you're experiencing what everybody's experiencing, right? And you don't have that coping mechanism that you do have it, but you shouldn't use that coping mechanism of using drugs to deal with it. And man, once you develop some things that really help, it's worth it. But I'm almost 4 years sober, and life's hard, It was a grind, and the biggest saying out of all the sayings I've heard is it works if you work it. It honestly pissed me off for a long time because I want to put in half effort and get full results. And I learned that the hard way, and I really put in everything I had. I'll work. Being a felon, I worked any job I could, and they're not very good jobs, and they don't pay the bills. And I was able to have my daughter. I got to be there for the birth of my daughter. I got my best friend back. She came back from California. She put all this trust in for me. Shout out to Don. Love you, dude. And dude, we just went through it. When I got an apartment, I got a car. The only furniture that was in there, and this was when I was like, I think I was 6 or 9 months sober by the time my daughter was born, and they moved over here. The only furniture we had in our little 1-bedroom apartment downtown in Salt Lake was her bassinet. We slept on the floor. I went to DI. I got 4 plates, 4 bowls, 4 forks, like that's all I could spend. I was donating plasma. I was charging electric scooters, like anything to make this work. And then it's just like, I don't know what it was, but it's something that's super motivating, that it's like, holy shit, I'm doing the work and like, look at these results, right? And then I was able to buy some furniture, and then we got to get a new car. And it's like every year has been this progressive thing because I know what I want. I'm not saying I have everything now, but I have to say it because I'm really trying to filter. There's no fucking way that I would have ever thought if you told me downtown that I would be living in this townhome and I'd have the cars that I have and I'd be owning a business with 2 kids and paying the amount of bills that I do, you're crazy. There's no way. I couldn't pay $700 a month. What are you talking about, So that's where the hope is. The hope lies with the work that you want to put into it. How bad do you want things? And it's not easy. It is not easy. I still struggle with things. Even now, like I said, my ex-fiance, that's still pretty recent. And I've been really open with that because I think there's a lot of growth to really own stuff. But she's my best friend, and I just didn't catch on to certain things sooner. And that's okay, because it's a learning process with this whole life thing. So anyway, that's
an incredible story, Preston. I mean, I'm listening to you. One thing I heard you say is that you've got a lot of trauma in your childhood, right? That your growing up was traumatizing, especially as a sensitive person, right? And I think that was probably a hard thing to come to as this, you're this military guy and you've done all the hard things, and someone tells you you're sensitive. Like, no, that would be wrong. That would just be wrong. But the fact that you can, you can connect with that also is probably some of the reasons why that trauma was so influential to you as a young person growing up. I'm curious about what part of that you had to look at going through recovery that helped you. I mean, you said something clicked for you, and it was a real emotional time as you were in jail, and some of those pivotal moments that that took you from one place to another. But did you have to go look at that trauma, and did you have to deal with that trauma? What did that look like in treatment?
Oh, for sure. So, which is funny too, because there was a lot of this trauma stuff I'm not going to bring up in treatment. That's how I viewed it. There's no reason to talk about it because it's not the problem. The only reason why I'm so open about it now is because I kind of tested that. I'll give you a little bit, right? This is over the past several years. I'll give you a little bit, and we'll see how that handles and what have you. But honestly, as soon as I was able to accept that it's okay to not be okay with things, and that I have some trauma, and that's okay. I had this thing, this toxic masculinity of like, bro, buck up, cowboy up, like stuff it down and like move on. And I think that's where a lot of my trauma came from in my life and growing up, which this isn't me bad-mouthing any religion by any means, but my experience with a certain church was very hard. It was very difficult being shamed with certain stuff. And so I bottled that in for a long time. And that's what made me an angry person. That made me think that I got to be Mr. Macho Man. And I'll tell you what, I actually, even though how hard shit is right now to deal with everything, man, I love who I am now because I will be emotionally honest with you. I will freaking cry. I'll tell you any traumatic shit you want to hear. I don't know. It's such a freeing thing. So really trusting the process and leaning into it. It's scary. It's scary as all hell, though. I'll give anybody that. It's not easy.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of work because it's the one thing you've spent your whole life avoiding, right? Is avoiding all of the pain and all of that, and now they want you to sit in it. Like, what?
Yeah. Just sit in that for a second. I'm like, what does that mean? I hurt right now and I don't like this. But I mean, even yesterday, I did a post on my personal page about mental health awareness and just the struggles with people have with that kind of stuff, right? Being bipolar or borderline personality disorder, and just the up and down with emotions. And I feel emotions like I feel extreme, and so being able to sit in something like that and kind of seeing the good, because yesterday I had a great day at work, had a great day with the kids, and then all of a sudden I was just like sad. I had some stuff that I'm stressing out about that is going to be okay. And I just started crying, and I'm just like, man, this sucks. And then it just kind of, again, these things just kind of clicked for me. But I was like, this is actually really cool that I get to feel this. Anytime before, it's like I'm going to use drugs, and then it just all stopped, right? Because I don't know what it is, therapeutic, like having a good solid cry. And then afterwards, oh man, like just talk about it. It's just so relieving, right? And waking up today, and I felt great today, and I'm just like, I'm really glad that I got to sit in that shit, right? No one wants to sit in it, but the hard stuff's what's worth it.
Well, it's interesting because I mean, you're this tough guy. I mean, you're this tough guy that has a tough background, and you've got all of this. And your live feed can see, but you got tattoos going on, and sometimes I associate that with, sometimes I've seen people that they'll tattoo because of the pain, right? And I don't know if that's why you tattoo, but they'll tattoo because it's about pain, and and so you've got some of that stuff going on. Gauges are definitely painful, and I can see that you've got some pretty sweet gauges going on there.
Yeah, thank you.
But then that you're willing to say, look, if I can go through and sit in that emotion and be okay crying, then I can feel better the next day because I was able to process that emotion and let it go instead of bottling it up. And it feels better, but it feels so darn scary that, and so unacceptable, because who says, oh yeah, Preston, it's okay to cry. Do it, man. Nobody says that, right? I mean, leastwise outside of treatment.
Right. Yeah. Don't cry. It's okay. Even my daughter, when she sees me cry, oh, don't cry, Dad. And I tell her all the time, it's okay to cry. Like, this is okay, and so, yeah, that's not a social norm. Don't cry. It's okay. It's just okay. Right. So absolutely. There's hope in that. Just like trust in the process, that if you lean into that and feel those emotions, even just 24 hours, don't use today. Tomorrow, readdress it if you really want to go use. But just do that. Okay. Let's just try this option first. And then tomorrow, let's readdress it and see if that's really what you want to do. That's always an option. I need options. Don't tell me I can't do something. Okay. Don't tell me I can't do something. It's just, when I was a recovery coach, I told my guys all the time, I'm like, using is always an option. Don't come in here and tell me, yup, I just can't use anymore. Like, bullshit, man. I don't care if you're facing prison time. You can go use. You have that freedom and that power to make that choice. And that's where the empowerment comes from. I chose not to use drugs today. Not because I couldn't. That's not cool, right? I chose that. And it empowers me. And so then the next day it's a little bit easier. It's just like, well, I didn't do it yesterday. Yesterday turned out pretty cool. You got to build those habits. So, yeah.
I like that, though, because you build on choice, and being able to make those choices consciously is power. That's power. And so often in society, we think that showing those emotions is weakness. And I don't think that's true. And I know you don't believe that's true anymore, but there's so many people out there that go, yeah, no, there's no way I'll ever show emotion because that's weakness. And I don't think there's anything more powerful than somebody that's able to show emotion and be authentic.
Yeah, which, man, I heard that all the time, and it's just like, I don't know what it was. It just, that didn't click for me. It's like, what do you mean? You want a sensitive guy that's going to open up and cry to you? Like, that's not brave or courageous or anything. Like, you need a macho man with this stuff. But absolutely, like, if I can be vulnerable with who I am and be true to myself and just like connect with people, because that's something I do believe. Like, this whole purpose thing on life is connection with people. We're meant to be around each other. I mean, that's why they put people in isolation, because that's not normal. We're not supposed to do that. That is the ultimate punishment, is to isolate someone, right? So it's like, how do I really connect with you guys? I can connect with you by being emotionally honest about something, and I hope you can feel the genuineness behind that, especially if I show emotion. And man, I have put that to the test so many freaking times, and it comes back in a positive way every single time. I can't remember any time that I've like cried or like opened up to somebody and it had a negative backlash. Never.
Well, and the interesting thing is as human beings, we pick up on people's body language. We know when they're emotionally lying, and we know we can't trust them. And so if you think that there's somehow power in that, and that you're going to create these relationships that are so real without being, authentic and vulnerable, it's a lie, and it's not true, right? Because people can tell. It's not, you can't keep that a secret.
Well, and that's with any type of relationship. You have your friendships, you have your coworker relationships too. But I mean, even like your personal relationship. And that's part of like the learning experience, looking back, at something that didn't work out. And it's like, man, I really wish I was a little bit more emotionally honest with where I was at with things. Maybe we would have been a little bit more connected, and for sure, right? And I don't like to get hung up on the past, for sure, and it sucks. But that's also the positive thing with this, is that I can look at a mistake made in the past, losing a best friend, losing the fiance, like all this stuff that's just was supposed to be so traumatic, and it was. I'm still going through that, but I get to learn for the next whatever's coming in my life, that it's just like, all right, that didn't work. Playing Mr. Tough Guy. Don't talk about your emotions. Don't communicate. Like what? And I feel bad about it, but man, I'm so glad that this is all happening so that I can be a better, example for my kids. And I will always tell them, like, share your emotions, share what you're feeling, be vulnerable. Because when you have that kind of vulnerable connection with somebody, man, you guys both know what that feels like when you got something that popped in your head exactly of, yep, I have that one person that I can just be completely vulnerable with, and I can cry with, and that's special. So,
well, I want to make a point of pointing something out that is fairly rare. I mean, we've got here in Utah and across the world is huge high divorce rates, and people going from relationship to relationship. But what I heard you say is that you have this fantastic relationship with this, with the mother of your children and your best friend, and that, you've chosen to make that an important relationship and not let all of the pain and the hurt involved with it affect the way you parent and the way you relate with each other. And I think it's worthy to talk about that, because I think that's something that we need to learn to do. We get so busy holding resentments and holding other people accountable that we keep ourselves trapped in that, it's painful to us more than anybody else, and we keep ourselves trapped. So I also noticed that that's what you're trying to do, and that takes a tremendous amount of courage.
That struck a chord too. That it's hard. That has been the hardest thing. Social norm is you got to hate your ex, right? Get away. They're terrible. And like, I've never wanted that. And it still isn't easy. This hasn't been some perfect process, which we can all, appreciate with that. But I think overall the direction that it's going is really cool. Like that we can look back and be like, yep, like this is where I fucked up. This is where I wasn't good as a person on both sides. And then just like both want to grow from that, and then like both support each other for that. So I don't know. That's another just social norm that I hate that it has to be that way. I love that we can not fight over the kids, and we don't got to go to court for this stuff. Like that's where I can try to look at this shitty situation and see a lot of positive things, because I have worked with a lot of guys that is not the case. They're going to court. They're spending tons on lawyers and this and that. And it's like, no, but like, we're not going to do that, because that's not cool for the kids. We're here for the kids. Let's make this work, Yeah.
And it's hard. I can tell that it's, it jerks at the heartstrings, because obviously you love her. She's your best friend, right? And so, and I like that you can own when you've made a mistake and say, you know, I probably didn't show up the way I wanted to yesterday. And, you know, and I see that and I apologize. And you've got that kind of an open relationship, which it just builds character, and it shows your kids how to do hard stuff too. So I love that example you're setting. That's pretty powerful.
Well, thanks. It's still work in progress. We're doing the best we can. So thanks.
So let me ask you this: how do you go from recovery and homelessness to, you know, creating the Underdogg Marketing organization, and how do you even get into that from where you were at?
Oh man, it's still such a weird, crazy story. I love how life just happens. So breezing through these last couple of years, so I worked at Renaissance Ranch right after I hit my 1 year sobriety. They're like, hey, come back and work and be a recovery coach. I loved it. I freaking loved that job. I loved talking to guys, everything. I had a little bit different approach because I was so stern, and it's just like, well, if you want this, you just do it. I don't care. You got to walk 10 miles, just do it, you know? And it worked for some guys, and it pissed other guys off. And so I was a good worker. I do pride myself in my work ethic because for so long I was not a good employee. I'm going to rob from you, steal you, whatever I can, and then you'll fire me and it's whatever. And so the ranch actually wanted to start a work program. Was called Team Innovations. I don't know if you guys ever heard of them. A couple of years ago is when they were active with that. And I had an opportunity that they offered me because I was trying to make more money. And so they're like, well, come help with this work program, right? And so I got to be a part of that. I was the administrative director, which I had no idea what that was. But basically, I was an assistant to the owners and just did whatever. But man, we were on to something with Team Innovations. We grew that to where we were connecting with all the rehabs around here and just saying, hey, we can fill your beds. I can make your sober living profitable. And we can give anybody a job if they're just show up to work. And so basically they'd show up to work. We'd have their rent come, or for sober living, that money come out of their checks. And then they were paying for their outpatient themselves. So they didn't need insurance. It was kind of a test run with that. But I mean, we literally pulled guys off the street who had nothing, no money, no insurance, no family, nothing. The people who actually need the help, basically, is what I'm saying. And we made them self-sufficient, efficient, and it worked. And it was so cool. And so in that process that we were growing, I think we got up to almost 60 people at this like call center. I just got a lot of experience in a lot of different areas with some marketing, with sales, with payroll, with admin stuff, with like, where do I got to go to buy office supplies, just like everything. And I got to like be that. And so when Team Innovations had closed down 2 years ago, it was kind of a hard thing because I was finally making some good money and working hard for that. And my brother-in-law actually owns All Hours Plumbing. And so that went under right before my second kid, my son Waylon, was born. He was born on Veterans Day 2 years ago. And so that was hard. And so he reached out and was just like, hey, just come help. I need help. My marketing director needs some help here. And I was like, okay. So I knew some. I didn't know a whole lot. I knew some, right? I know how to talk. I know how to sell. I don't know. And so I got to go do that. And I dove headfirst into it. I was hungry. I was motivated. I wanted to make it work. Fast forward 2 months and I was the new marketing director, right? I love statistics. I love data, and they didn't do any reporting. So I was just like, I was nerding out over this large plumbing company that had a lot of revenue, and there was no reporting on, this or that. And so I was able to do a lot of good for them. And, oh man, I learned so much with marketing, dealing with agencies, really was teaching myself stuff. I was putting myself through some courses online, all that stuff. And then last year at the end of the summer, that relationship didn't work out. Working with families hard. That's all I'll say about that. And I was just like, well, what am I going to do now? Because again, that was another step up. Now I've got a bigger house. It's more expensive, like all these things. And now it's like, it was a huge step back. I thought we were going to lose everything. And now I've got 2 kids and a fiance at home. I was scared shitless. I didn't know what was going on, and I was still sober. I'm like, oh God. And so it's actually funny with Underdog, that year before that, when Team Innovations was still around, me and a friend there were like, we want to replicate this. So we registered the name Underdog with 2 G's, and we're like, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. That was still the plan. I had things lined up when Team Innovations went under. I was only supposed to stay with my brother-in-law for a couple of months because I had all this stuff lined out. So Underdog was supposed to be a recovery call center workplace, okay? And then COVID hit really hard last spring. And all the campaigns I had going shut down, and I was just left here with this business. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll just stay at all hours, right? So that sat on the shelf. So then when all hours went, where we had our separation, I remember I got something in the mail. It was almost that 1 year mark that it's like, hey, you need to renew your business name with the state and all this stuff. And I'm like, I need to do something with this. And at that point, a lot of people were hitting me up for some side work on marketing, right? And I was just like, fuck it. Sorry, but I'm going to just do this, okay? So I switched it over. I got everything. I branded it finally. It was like all official, and I started last fall, and I've been doing it since then. And I still do I have another job that I do during the day, but like I'm at that point where I'm making more with my business than I am my day job. And it's like these last couple weeks, right? We got all these changes going. Family dynamics is changing. I mean, I'm like, who am I? What am I doing? So I'm like, I think I'm going to dive headfirst into this, like, and finally just do it fully, because I've been able to do it enough with my clients that I have and everything that I think I just want to do this full time. And so that's where we're at right now. And I've been fortunate enough that the word of mouth has been really good. Everybody that I've been able to help, we've gotten awesome results for. And my niche is small business. Because last year, a lot of my family are business owners, but last year with COVID, small business got hit hard, and I hated seeing that. And so having that experience at all hours of working with so many agencies and seeing how they did things, I saw what I liked, I saw what I didn't like, and I got to cookie cut this. But my niche is small business for people who have never had any experience with an agency or have had a bad experience with an agency. I don't do long-term contracts. We can build whatever you're wanting out of this, because digital marketing is the easiest thing that you can do for your business to really take it to that next level. And that's what's really cool, is like the businesses that we're able to work for and that I do work for, like they're seeing the success with it. That, and I hated that there was no standard price for stuff. So I'm literally like half anybody else, because I think that's what's fair. Stuff, I don't want to just try to make a dime off someone. I want to make a relationship off somebody and like grow together. So that's been working for me so far.
Very cool. Very cool. Do you plan on, you did the call center, associated with people in recovery. Are you going to do stuff like that again? Are you going to try and incorporate that, or do you really just focus on underdogs?
Man, perfect world. I would love to figure out another way to have a campaign that's a catch-all, right? Like I can't just have a sales campaign and you come in and you're just cold calling people, right? That's not the best for everybody that's in recovery. But I'm telling you, something was special with that. And I would love to have my company be involved in something with that, to where I don't care what your background is, what felonies you got. If you're trying to get sober and you're going to treatment, like let's give you a job and like make this happen for you. And I do see that down the road when I can put some more focus into that, on being of service, at least for a workforce standpoint, to give guys that are coming out of jail or prison or off the streets and are wanting to change, because addicts and alcoholics can run this planet. I'm like, if you're able to feed a $100 to $200 habit with no job, no home, you know how to you problem solve, right? And that's where like I will pride myself in. I'm so glad that I'm an addict in recovery, because I would have never been able to like overcome some of the shit that I have financially or anything. It's just like, okay, this is a lot of money. I don't know how we're going to do this, but I'm going to figure it out. And then I'm able to, and it blows my mind. And that's why I'm just like, dude, I will hire an addict and alcoholic any day if they're wanting to stay sober, because that like power that they have, man, when you put that to good, it is so crazy to see what these people can do.
Oh, I love that you say that too. I was talking to somebody about that just this morning, that the people in recovery that I know are some of the most incredibly talented people I know. And they come with this whole skill set. They think it's all negative, but you tweak it just a little bit and it's pretty powerful. Same with even gang members, right? There's a whole society and culture, and they learn all sorts of skills. If they tweak that just a little bit, they become very powerful, influential people in the world, and can make things happen. So I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. That's the cool thing, is seeing that the positive behind the shit that they're in. People gave me a chance, and I was able to kind of like prove myself with things, and that's all I want to do with other people. So great question. I think eventually I could put more focus into that and make something happen, but who knows? I have no idea what's going on.
Nice. Very nice. Well, Preston, I love that you've shared your story. I mean, we could talk for hours and hours, I'm sure. But let people know how to get a hold of you if they want to connect and, and touch base more.
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook. It's just Underdogg Marketing. It's with 2 G's, so just think Snoop Dogg. I know that's corny as hell, but it's the best way to do it. So Underdogg with 2 G's, marketing. And then same thing with the website, underdoggmarketing.com. It's got all my contact information. I'd love to be of service with anything else. This doesn't just have to be business related. But if you got a business, or you need a website, or you want social media help or anything like that, like hit me up and let's get something going.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Preston, it's been fantastic. And we'll have to connect with you here in a year or so and see where things are at.
Please do. That would be really cool to see. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks, Preston.